So I am starting the recording so then we actually know what is happening here. All right. So I guess without too much further ado, hey everyone, welcome to Sports Radio 1917, your home for sports discussion and fantasy analysis from a leftist perspective. I'm Keldon, and today I'm flying solo this week from my co-host. That's right, they have abandoned me. So I have fully stocked the roster with everyone from the Sports Ball Socialist Caucus. How's it going, y'all?
It's
always
rough,
a wonderful day. Wonderful
Oh.
day in SR17 land.
We were going positive. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
It's going great. Going great, folks.
No, see, we're talking about sports, so everything's either going great or going awfully in sports, just depending on the teams you root for, whether or not they won, lost, or got quarantined because of COVID exposure. So it's
I'm very
real mixed
excited
bag.
that my Celtics lost in what was at least a passable 6-game Eastern Conference Final series rather than show up and lose to Grandpa LeBron, who is apparently immortal.
Yes.
I can't even be mad. Yeah, he's phenomenal, and everyone on the Heat is dead. So
Yes.
Yesterday was a horrible day. Today the Heat don't play, so it's a wonderful day because I don't watch them lose. Tomorrow's probably going to suck.
Yeah, well, just to let people know what we're going to be diving into, we are going to be talking a little bit about the NBA playoffs, albeit probably not as much as some other podcasts and shows, mostly because I think we can all kind of tell the writing on the wall. So we're going to look forward then into some coaching news in the NBA, and then also deciding to just, dive absolutely headfirst into the madness that is the NFL and what we should expect from week 4, because man, things are gearing up here. It's going to be wild. So before I forget, though, please go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Sports Radio 1917. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure and hit the like button, subscribe, click. I don't know how it all works on Twitch either. That's a Gabe thing for anyone listening at home. I was abandoned. He's focusing on these important things like union meetings, and Mitchell is out dealing with this amazing world of judo that he focuses in on, and probably also spending an amazing night with his girlfriend too. Oh well, they're not really here grinding away like I am.
Absolute monsters. Yeah, seriously.
And here we are.
Yeah, exactly.
We're the cool ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're the ones with nothing to do on a Thursday night.
Yeah. Listen, we're being responsible. That's what it is. We're not congregating outside is what we are. And we are living in a bubble of our own, which it seems to be, as we're finding out. The longer the bubble exists, the better LeBron seems to just be playing. Because if you look at LeBron playing at the beginning of the bubble versus now, I mean, he's getting rejuvenated. I don't know if he's sucking out the souls of the opposing teams, Monstar style, or what, but it's bizarre to me to have the finals finally be arriving, and it's the Lakers and the Heat, and then you're realizing, oh, LeBron is actually trying now. Like, that's where his focus is, because my God, what an approach. What have y'all's thoughts been on the road to the finals for LeBron?
Apparently, you can completely be deprived of HGH and still be the best player in the league. And I actually do not buy the LeBron HGH narrative, but I do want to point out that was one of my favorite jokes at the start of this, and I have heard that joke go really flat ever since.
Once they started gentlemen sweeping people, the whole haha, look, he's bald just doesn't ring true the same anymore, I suppose.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, so you're a Heat fan though, Dame. So explain to us what's happening here, because the Heat became America's darling after the Phoenix Suns. I would say, just like the Suns kind of gathered a lot of people's attention, but then they didn't make the playoffs. That then allowed Jimmy Butler and the Heat to establish their own personality from within. And now, I mean, my God, everyone's on crutches.
Yeah, boy, am I glad that the Suns, don't let Gabe hear this. Boy, am I glad the Suns did not make the postseason, because the Heat would be, no one would care. They'd still make the finals, and everybody would just be like, well, you know, they're not the Suns. So thankfully, we at least get this. the Lakers matchup just isn't a particularly good one for Miami, and I didn't think the Boston one was either. I thought Boston was probably the worst matchup out of any of the teams Miami had to face, just because of their length and ability to move the ball with their actual ball handlers, as opposed to the Bucks, who can't do that because they have no ball handlers.
Well, I don't think though that you should feel bad for that assumption, because barring two amazing comebacks by the Heat and one 37-point game from Tyler Hero, I mean, I think Boston probably does in fact beat the Heat.
I have an even more controversial point. Barring exactly one Bam Adebayo block.
Oh my God.
Boston does beat the Heat. I'm not even joking. Bam Adebayo doesn't make that block. I genuinely think that first off, we have a much different, let's say, character profile to the next couple
a
games.
A cleaner game, you might say.
The Celtics started playing messy and desperate. Like, I'm a Celtics fan, full disclosure. Like, I'm a huge Jaylen Brown fan, and I think Jason Tatum is probably the third or fourth best player under 25, maybe second best player under 25 in the league. And that's because 25, by the way, is just packed full of incredible talent, just so we're clear.
Yeah. It's not like everyone over 25 suddenly sucks, or those are the really good players, you know.
No, but like Luka and him are going to be there will be MVPs, season-long MVPs between those two players. But the broader point that I would make is that the Celtics were tired after a 7-game series with the Raptors that they were already playing sloppy in. And
which
then,
also shouldn't have gone 7 games. Right? I mean, they probably should have won in 6 or 5 even, instead of all the way to 7.
That's being generous to the Celtics level of sloppiness, but yes.
Okay, but again, just trying to make sure people are in the headspace here. I love the Heat. I want everyone to be very open about how a lot of things had to break right for the Heat to maintain the streak that they did. So, I mean, the combination of them being very talented, them elevating to the next level completely, and then also them facing some just exhausted opponents.
And the Maroons from Dade County, man.
And beyond that, like, the Heat had one of the best. The Heat has 3 of the strangest streaky 3-point shooters in the entire league. So first off, they have the man that looked like he robbed me outside of my middle school dance, Tyler Hero. They have the man who looks like he was the other guy that got robbed outside of that middle school dance, Duncan Robinson. And they have Jay Crowder. Yeah. And they have Jay Crowder, who has suddenly reinvented himself as a perimeter shooter, something he never could do in Boston for some reason. So,
or Cleveland or Utah. Or Memphis,
or anywhere, but for some reason,
6 or 7, yeah.
I mean, he got a Mike D'Antoni 15-minute phone call hype sesh, and then all of a sudden he started being able to sink threes. That's what happened, I think.
He's in close proximity in the hotel to the Rockets and just photosynthesized their 3-point shooting ability.
He just that's why they went so cold in their series. Yeah, seriously.
No, man, it's just I don't know. The run Miami made is something so unlikely to happen that the outcome that we're going to see in the finals is probably what we'd expect. It's just nothing we could say about injuries. They happen. It just kind of sucks that they all happened at once.
Well, because a lot of people. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
And yeah, LeBron somehow snuck his cryotherapy into the bubble, so he's at 200%. So
I'll also say this much: I think that the Heat, I understand that people are going to be like, oh, like people use the excuse that they're injured. They're injured, and they were down already by the time the injuries were happening. But I don't think the Heat will get swept. I don't think Kadavius Caldwell Pope can maintain his level of shooting consistency he's had so far. Mm-hmm. So I somehow believe that the Heat are going to at least sneak one out of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Lakers have to give them one. They still act like they're the dominant home court team, and so they gentleman sweep so they can close every series at home. That's the whole appeal of it.
Didn't even consider that. Yeah, I have no idea how the Lakers shot 40% from three. They put up like 48 threes and made 15 of them. I have no idea how in the world they did that.
Playing a team's second team for at least, in terms of total time allotted, like a full quarter, will probably help, though. Just a bit.
If they, even then, if they have any repeat performance like that, the Miami's going to have no chance, regardless of how well they play. You just can't beat that.
You heard it here first. Finals MVP
but...
Caruso coming in.
The Balding boys are going to lead the Lakers and to a probable sweep. I honestly don't see Miami taking a game off LA, given that Dragic is out now. I think that's just going to be too insurmountable of a loss because he's too integral to that team. So
yeah, I tend to think that Dragic just is like a complete difference maker for that team. Like, I can't think of a player that makes more of a difference. 1 second, folks.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that when you're discussing the idea of what a player is capable of, Dragic probably fits a very unique mold that wouldn't work for a lot of teams, in the sense of he is both a starter and a mentor and an excellent guy to come off the bench. He's willing to serve whatever role Miami needs him to be in. And so the fact that, he's hurt, like it throws people off their game. It doesn't make you be able to be as flexible, I think, if anything goes wrong, which obviously things are right now.
What's good for Dragic is now that he can rest, he can chill in the bubble, enjoy Orlando, and get huge paychecks next year when Pat Riley starts throwing them to the vets because they got no one else to spend it on. Dragic going to get his $32 million, and all for making 30 minutes of playtime in the NBA Finals.
Yep.
You don't think they're going to try to punt cap space to get your good friend
Embiid,
the old wonderful large man Embiid?
I don't see that happening just because 2021 free agency is beyond stacked and they have infinite cap space that year. I think Riley does the same thing that he did with Iguodala and gives him a 1 year or 2 year where the second year is a team option, and it's big bucks for the Dragon. He's going to be going back to Slovenia and living large. I hope he's able to play.
You think he's on the Pau Gasol route of eventually becoming the tallest man in his country?
Oh yeah, maybe not after the foot injury, but oh yeah, without a doubt.
The cast actually helps add a couple inches, so that's what he wants to get measured. Is the way that would go. I mean, I think at least the general consensus was that it was going to be a tough series for the Lakers, just in general. They would need someone to step up. I make a joke about Caruso, but I mean, maybe Kyle Kuzma or playoff Rondo to maintain his stellar appearance making. But the fact that Miami is so hurt gives the Lakers a lot of breathing room, almost, to where now I don't think we even need to see 100% LeBron and 100% AD for them to win. I mean, I think that, since this is the series that they were really resting for, why not? This is a true resume builder for AD, and this is something that would secure LeBron's legacy of, 3 championships with 3 different teams. That's a special club unto himself for him to be in. So it'll.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Like that's the I honestly am firmly of the camp that LeBron is a better player than Jordan, because I think that the competition in this era is better than the competition Jordan ever faced.
Also, the
he played plumbers.
Shot. Yeah,
he played plumbers. LeBron plays Fortnite players, and Jordan played plumbers.
But the thing that I would say, and the thing that I would consistently say, is that there is the single best piece of legacy that LeBron could do was to take one of the marquee teams, because he'd given the Heat their first one, or not the Heat, excuse me. He'd given the Cavaliers their first title. He went to he had already, he'd gotten his first title with the Heat. He's now bringing one of the marquee franchises back to relevance.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is something about where I mean, what's the deal look like for next year for him? Forget how much he's getting paid, but like it's possible that him and AD could run it back, right? The Lakers still have the cap space to keep AD with a fairly healthy supporting cast, right?
Yeah, they
AD has to decide to
rights.
sign, but yes.
Well, yes, yeah. I mean, oh no, you're stuck in Los Angeles after already winning a championship with LeBron James. Oh no, don't secure your legacy by going back to back. Oh no.
I'll tell you, I think that if they hadn't looked so dominant the way they do right now, I don't know that AD stays.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's not how you start. It's not where you're at the midseason point. It's how you finish, really. I think with players of that caliber, and if you finish strong and with a championship, it's going to be hard to get people to move off from that.
Even with a finals appearance alone, though, I feel like he'd be like, all right, cool. We know we can do it. None of our guys outside of like Dwight Howard are nearing Social Security age. We can get back there. So I think.
How great do you think, by the way, the Lakers probably feel, though? Because after you win one, you can get maybe some ring-chasing veterans on your team. Not to say that they don't have that already, of course, but, like, they have some real, borderline scrubby talent that they were trying to assemble as they were smashing pieces together for the bubble. And so
call David West. Bring him back. I know he and Vogel go way back, so get him back chasing the ring.
My commentary is they have incredibly unreliable random shooters, like random players. Like running it back, they could lose their whole team and still get better next year, except for the two people. Like they genuinely are the only team in the league who has fully embraced this two superstar era. Like if you think about it, there is no other team built around two superstars and whatever random people they could find.
Yep. Whoever wants to win that year, or
you can argue
and
Portland a little bit is kind of built that way.
Portland has like 1.2 superstars, I think.
Okay, you guys clearly don't like CJ McCollum.
It's not that I don't think he's great. I think he's great. I just, I don't think he has the resume or like when he's dominant.
No, without a doubt. I just mean like in terms of like the way they built it. Like it's centered around.
You don't think what's his face is big? You don't think what's his face is worth being a star?
Nurkic was a castaway from Nurk was a castaway from Denver, though.
Well, Nurk's only a castaway from Denver because they discovered the best big man in the league in the second round.
They found chubby Jokic.
They found an overweight. Is he a Slav? I think he's a Slav.
Yes.
They found an overweight Slav, and it turns out he's just the best person to ever play the position.
They got him also, like you said, when he was overweight, and now he's just going to get yoked for him. That's like, if you were married to someone for 4 years and then all of a sudden they picked up becoming like an Instagram fitness level person, like that level of attractive all of a sudden, like, where the fuck did this come from? I'm not mad by any means. I'm just, wondering if you're starting to look around and explore other options.
I married you on a non-guaranteed deal. What are you doing?
Right. Yeah. Like you weren't even in the same draft. I took a different player to play your position in the first round.
Yeah, I guess that would be the equivalent of like, yeah, we met at my first wedding. Like that's kind of the situation that occurred.
You were my bride's bridesmaid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I sent my bride to Portland, so I guess you're up.
She's in the anarchist city Portland now with Hassan Whiteside.
Jesus Christ.
With Comrade Hassan.
Oh God.
Hassan, by the way, I want to shout out Hassan Whiteside right now.
Himbo of the week.
Himbo of the week. Also, based ally of the week. Hassan Whiteside said that he needed to get out of this country, and he said he was going to Hawaii. And a lot of people took that as Hassan failing geography. I choose to take that as Hassan Whiteside recognizing that the sovereign nation of Hawaii never gave up its sovereignty, never surrendered to the settler colonial nation of the United States. So, power, Hassan.
I love 2020. Things can go so full circle. Back again.
I got LeBron saying the F word on Twitter, and Hassan is now a self-determinist. For the people of Hawaii. This is like This is phenomenal. People say
Look, I
this
thought
year
Jaylen
sucks.
Brown was the furthest left basketball player, but it turns out it's been Hassan Whiteside this whole time.
Hiding power levels the entire time. Can you imagine if you just heard like as Hassan gives an assist to Lillard or something, just oh wow, look at Whiteside practicing mutual aid from the paint.
It's he goes on. They put out two bigs out there, and it's a real dual power moment.
Oh my God.
No choice but to stand that organization. Just slowly, as I was getting excited about the Rockets finally accepting the fact that they need a big man in their lives. Instead, no, Portland comes and sweeps my heart away. My God. Oh, man.
No, they don't, Kelton. You need smaller players, less big men, less height.
I cannot wait to see what. I don't care what Houston's owner's last name really is. Tillman Fertitta.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's Fertitta.
Yep.
I don't know.
It's no, it's bad. It
Nelly
should be
Furtado.
Frittata,
Yeah.
It'd be like, oh, the inventor of the frittata? It'd be like, yeah, sure, fuck it. Why not? Yeah. It's a whole lot better than his actual racist way that he made money to get a franchise.
I cannot wait to see. I'm very surprised, actually. I know MDA was going to be gone, but I'm surprised that Daryl Morey is not gone yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I am excited to see what disastrous trades the analytics guru makes for your franchise.
Well, it's going to be wild because the analytics guys were begging, to bring in Westbrook because analytics showed that everything would work out well. It's like, if someone who were to be really good at fantasy football were to then be given actual control of an NFL roster and not understand how 1, 2, and 3 receiver sets work. Like, I thought they would all have the equal amount of production here. What's happening? My team is falling apart.
Speaking of fantasy football.
What? I'm sorry?
Speaking of fantasy football.
Oh God. Is
this a seamless transition here?
No. It was me just doing
an. Sorry. I thought you were setting me up for a segue. My apologies.
It's a bit, Dread.
No. We still have to talk about the insane coaching carousel that I think has happened. Because I know it feels weird, but okay. In the time that this last episode aired, to give you a frame of reference, the very next day, Billy Donovan agreed to be the coach of the Bulls. That feels like so long ago at this point. Like, the NBA is moving a mile a minute.
2 weeks ago, I made the joke on this podcast that Billy Donovan was going to go develop the lack of talent and Zach LaVine on the Bulls roster. And I thought that I was full of shit because what talent? And then it turns out, I guess he's going to find out.
Right. It's going to be insane. He has the entire city just actually looking forward and feeling optimistic, and it's going to be so great to see because I'm getting very, very MDA on the Knicks kind of vibes from this Billy Donovan experiment of where, things surely could go well. I'm not denying that, but I get a feeling of like there's so much hope and optimism that I think people are almost thinking that he can do another Thunder-esque turnaround. And there's a reason that the Thunder were so special this year is because that shit just doesn't happen regular. So, anyways.
You also usually don't get traded what turns out to be an ascendant point guard and also another point guard, and then decide to use a third point guard.
Yes.
And just win a bunch of games that you shouldn't win.
It'll be interesting, I think, to see because when Chris Paul ends up becoming a Knick, which is my next big feeling and takeaway, because I both hate myself but also love chaos, so why not? It's going to be interesting to see where other coaches are landing, because Doc Rivers earlier today he agreed to become the coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, which it's so great to have Doc Rivers finally be coaching a team that is not plagued by injuries and a whole lot of what ifs and what could have been.
A team that has talent. That is not trash, like the Clippers.
A team that doesn't have a history and, frankly speaking, a legacy of choking.
Yeah.
A team that won't constantly be compared to a more successful Boston team he ran, a team with an owner that is famously patient and not at all temperamental and whatsoever.
The important thing is, though, is that he has a great GM backing him, though, you know?
He was look, how many teams have a GM who was a #1 overall draft pick?
How many teams?
Does your team have a GM that has that? No, mine doesn't.
How many teams have a GM who you personally squared up against in other ways and have said on record you hated his guts?
Yeah.
I actually forgot that happened. Yeah. I have no idea how that's going to work out. Boston won the Doc Rivers trade. It's been 10 years.
We didn't do anything with it.
That one first-round pick, I have no idea who you used it on. You guys won.
It
You
led.
used on Terry Rozier.
Okay.
Super win. That's how you got Kemba. Super dub. Doc's gone. Doc's in Philly. I'm still of the opinion they should have signed MDA.
I still think so. I agree completely. They should have signed MDA but not because that would have gotten them over the hump. It's just because an MDA Sixers team would have been hilarious. This will just be a competent team in the regular season that disintegrates in the postseason. It's going to be predictable. The narratives will write themselves, but they'll be fine. I still think on your average night, Doc is a better coach than he is than the opposing coach. On your average night. Now, every time
for every NBA quarter poll to have the 76ers in like the top 5, and then they always end up getting bounced at the first round. Like, you know, that's going to happen every year.
It is on an average night, he will not be outcoached. I think the coaches in the East that outcoached him easily, Nick Nurse, Sproul, for all of my issues with Brad's rotations, Brad is a better play caller.
I'm sorry. Like, I know that you're, a Celtics fan, so you'll always deal with the ins and outs of it. But like, I think everyone's opinion is that Brad is a whole lot better than Doc. Like,
a lot of Celtics fans are like, "Oh, we should fire Brad." I'm like, "Who are you going to hire?" MDA on the Celtics, that would be very funny.
He has a ball handler. He would have a ball handler in Tatum. They would be phenomenal.
They would just shoot threes and stop playing defense.
Hey, man, the NBA system isn't
178 to 165, just every game.
MDA, if we want to see that, the Timberwolves need to fire Ryan Saunders and hire MDA immediately, and that's exactly what we're going to get.
Be careful.
That you could speak it into existence.
Yeah,
I would be okay with that. I would be completely fine with that.
I mean, the weirdest thing, I think, in terms of coaching ideas, probably does come from Kyrie and his quotes when he's talking about how, like, I think I could also end up being the head coach for a game, or KD could, or, our actual coach, Steve Nash.
I actually have a controversial opinion to this.
Okay, go ahead.
I think Kyrie should not have put this out there.
Wow, controversial.
Well, that's the not controversial part. But I think he's actually right.
Shut up.
Of course he's right, because that's how the game is played, right? Like, the coach isn't really the coach so much anymore. Like, if KD wants something to go his way, there's no coach in the world that's going to survive by saying no.
I think coaches have become general managers secretly over the last generation of stars, really the LeBron era. Mm-hmm. But I will say, outside of LeBron and outside of, realistically, it's going to be weird to say, but Carmelo Anthony, during his time in a couple of different places, there are very few play calling stars on the floor. And I know it's weird to say Melo, but Melo did literally define what plays they ran. Yeah. Now, a lot of that was about his capabilities and inefficiencies, but still, I think Kyrie's actually very wise when he says that Steve Nash, him, and KD are buds. Like, the reason why KD brought in Steve Nash was because he wanted his friend coaching him. Mm-hmm. And there are going to be nights where it's the Steve Nash plan, and there are going to be nights where it's the Kyrie plan, and it's nights where it's the KD plan.
I totally agree. He's still saying the quiet parts out loud.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, you're right.
That's like, that is the standoff and stand by of the NBA Twitter world. Like, I
Kyrie has
understand
a-
what you're saying here, buddy, and we all kind of think that might be the way it ends up playing out, but you don't need to say it like that. Come on, it breaks my heart.
It seems super duper disrespectful to Steve Nash for them to bring him in and then be like, screw that guy. Like, well, I don't have to listen to him. I can be the head coach. I don't know. I feel like that's not how you make a locker room gel, but I've never been in one. So
the thing that makes me wonder is not about Steve Nash and Kyrie. It's about KD and Kyrie. Because you see, Nash is not Kyrie's guy. He's KD's guy.
Yep.
He was KD's shooting coach when he was with Golden State. KD and him have been notoriously like linked on a couple of different projects. There was a conversation that Nash was going to, once again leave his soccer analysis job and do shooting coaching again for the Nets. Now he's just the coach of the Nets.
Yep.
Like, he's KD's dude. And it makes you wonder, is Kyrie mad he didn't get to choose the coach?
I mean, maybe but I mean, like, the whole reason Kyrie probably really, went with the Nets as fast as he did was because he also knew that KD was going to be there the following year. Like that was a large factor, in addition to money and the fact that you get to live in Brooklyn and you're able to make your own stamp on the city. Those are of importance. I wouldn't say equally, if then you also know that KD is coming there. Like that's
Sure.
a huge thing.
With all that said, though, like, even with all that said, like, Kyrie could still have gone to Brooklyn because he knew he could also go somewhere with KD. They could have been planning this. But Kyrie has proven that while talent-wise and capability-wise, he is a good, and in fact, perhaps the second best player in the league. That's a lie. I think AD is the second best player in the league. But whoever, he is capable of being the number 2 on a 2.5-star roster.
Yeah, I think he could be. Would it be fair to say probably the number 1, number 2? That makes sense.
Yes, he could certainly, but his ego is not that of a number 1, number 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's of a number 30, number 1.
Yeah, which is just as bad as a number 1, unfortunately, if not worse.
the number one seems to be pretty. He's getting his assists in. His hairline's moving back, and they're winning. Like, the number one's doing awesome.
Are y'all familiar with One Punch Man at all, by any chance?
Yeah.
The for people at home who aren't super familiar, there's this obsession with superhero rankings all the way. It's divided into various tier groups, and so people are constantly moving up or moving down or what have you. And Kyrie reminds me of someone who is in that top tier, but stuck more or less at the bottom, but constantly trying to crawl his way up to the top. And then other people randomly explode and then leapfrog him, like a Jimmy Butler almost, or something like that. Not necessarily in terms of talent, but
like a Jason Tatum.
Yeah. You take your team to the finals, you do all of this amazing stuff in the playoffs instead of getting hurt, which isn't necessarily, you're on you, but like, the legends of other people and other players grow. And so he just reminds me of one of those types that's going on there.
I think it's offensive. I think the calling people Pippen has always been actually a little bit a slight to Pippen, because Pippen would have been a star.
Was great.
Yeah, Pippen's incredible. I think that the Bulls had a number 1 and then the number 1, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think Pippen could have been a number 1 on a more successful team than he was allowed to be, with better coaching and better surrounding talent.
Also, the only reason that the Bulls had Pippen was because they absolutely fucked him on a deal. Like, no superstar at all would ever agree to, what was it, like a 10-year contract or something when he signed it? Like, my God, can you imagine someone? Like,
contracts that are literally illegal now.
Yeah. Well, I guess Mahomes signed a 10-year.
You can get him in hockey.
Yeah, okay.
You can get him in football if you're willing to give them $500 million.
And he reinvested some of that money, okay, Dredd? Also
into
the Kansas City Royals.
I think that's a bad investment if we're going to be honest there, but
no, it'll be fine. It's for his kid. That kid's going to end up being a star baseball player for the Kansas City Royals. And so, just cycle on, cycle off as they own the Midwest. They will just have a castle set up somewhere.
I'm surprised the Hunt family has not officially adopted Patrick Mahomes and made him their heir.
There's still time. There's still time. Let's.
If they want to get rid of the name and the history, they can rename the entire state of Missouri. There's still time.
The state of Mahomes.
They can just call it Mahomes. Yeah, Kansas City
Mahomes. That's not bad.
It rolls off the tongue.
That would be the final, synthesis with the people who say Missouri versus the people who say Missouri. You get to say Mahomes. You get both of those types of sounds included in. So just let people be happy.
So here's not to drag us back to it, but here's my interesting take on the coaching carousel. Doc going to the Sixers turns the entire thing of the carousel a little bit into a wash, because I think Ty Lue was actually going to be, before Doc got fired, I think Ty Lue was going to be the 76ers or MDA, and if we're going to live in a happier timeline. But now I think Ty Lue just takes the Clippers job. So I think that we now have, before we had as many openings as viable candidates. And now we have fewer openings than viable candidates. We have a true musical chairs, because I think that there are 5 reasonable coaching hires and only 3 spots, really.
You know what this means, right? The prediction of MDA becoming an assistant coach on the Nets is now suddenly a very real possibility that could happen.
I would love to see MDA deal with the Eagles on that. After what happened in LA, when you just get to see his mustache getting really angry every game.
No, he's the assistant coach. He's able to sit back. He has his mask on. He's in the back 9 of the coaching career. Just get those rings now, baby.
Ring chasing for coaches. I don't think we've ever seen that before. So
whole new world.
That would be that'd be a phenomenal new turn to this NBA.
But
are we considering the San Antonio Spurs an opening right now?
Not technically, because I really hope, God, I'm blanking on her name.
Becky Hammon.
Okay, I really like, my dark horse candidate would be that Pop retires, but he publicly states, like, in the same press conference, that like he wants her for that job.
It should be, by the way, it should be Becky Hammon. But the reason I'm asking is because, in like similarly to how Ty Lue might have gone to Philadelphia, I think that there's a chance that Becky Hammon could be a high enough coaching to be hired elsewhere.
That is how by the way, that's real girl power, is deciding to take the best overall job available to you and just breaking the heart of the person who helped nurture you all the way up. Like that is gaining your own independence.
The best job is going to be staying in San Antonio, though.
Probably.
I disagree. I think that there are 2 jobs that are better.
Based on like the organizational stability of the Spurs and the fact that they're the Spurs.
I also think that they would be way
talent.
more forgiving for her.
But they don't have talent. Like, if you're trying to go,
that's not her responsibility to accumulate, though. So
right, but if you're the first woman head coach of the NBA, like we talk about, like, one of my favorite quotes from this is a quote from Deshaun Watson's quarterbacks coach, which is that it's not about the best quarterback in the league being black; it's about the worst quarterback in the league being black. Like, it's a great quote.
Gotcha.
It's like.
I don't mean to undercut. Was that TJ Yates who said that?
I think that was TJ Yates, yeah.
AKA the whitest quarterback from North Carolina. So I'm glad Deshaun Watson's finally rubbing off on him, because that dude was a chud beforehand. Like, for real. Wild shit. So,
but the end all be all is, like, it's not about, like, Becky Hammon could next week become a top tier coach. And I think that she actually has the capability to do so. It's like, I think that she could be the one Pop assistant that actually proves to be better than Pop, or not better than Pop, but better than what people think of Pop, like, disciples. Like, she can leave the shadow. But if she goes, and the Spurs might suck for multiple years, like, they don't have roster talent. Recruiting stars is going to be a difficulty. Like, they had to luck into draft picks. They didn't, like, magically draft well. They didn't know they were drafting well. They just, like, yeah, Tim Duncan wasn't hard to discover. Like,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
I mean, they kind of fell backwards into him, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But like even though there's some great organizational stability, that's a 500 team tops. And if you're the first women head coach, you might not be able to afford to go to a 500 team.
You know, like that is a very, valid point, I think. And when the NBA season is over, I want us to do some more fun deep dives into that world of basketball about Becky Hammon. Unfortunately, we are running a little bit long right now. I mean, it's a thought experiment about what then would be the best possible spot for her. Like, let's assume you were to pull all the coaches off the boards from all the teams. Like, where would be the best fit for her? And then what would that reshuffling kind of look like? That would be an amazing thought experiment, and one we can probably do. And I was going to say 2 weeks, but realistically, with how the Heat are playing, probably next week.
Yeah,
next Thursday, fellas.
Yeah. So let's put a pin in that, though, because I want us to jump on over into the NFL. Now, since Gabe isn't here, I can't do some really cool transition, but just...
I was going to ask you something. I've been really looking for a new sports betting site, something that makes it really simple for me.
Oh,
yeah, well, me, the degenerate gambler.
Yes, that is fantastic. I would suggest probably FanDuel or DraftKings, or there's this other one you might.
Is there something that makes it easier for me? Something that I don't have to pick a whole team, but I can just something that only makes me think about the stars. Maybe lets me do up or down bets of some sort.
Exactly, like just the props there. I understand what you're going for here. You might want to try out Thrive Fantasy. It's a new fantasy sports app that just allows people to focus on the player props. So if you're in the NFL, you choose 10 out of 20 player props, or in the NBA, you get to choose 5 out of 10. And you just go with the big names and whether or not you think they will do well or not. This type of sports app is what I like to consider the office secretary sports app, in the sense of you go by the jersey colors to decide what team you're rooting for, but then you also go by the names that you recognize. And I have a feeling those types of people are going to have the most fun on this app, because they'll go, oh, wow, I won that free contest that they're offering, instead of the degenerate gamblers like me that really thought that we had an edge if we're going with some unknown bench player scoring more than 10 points.
You mean you didn't expect Cedric Wilson to go off?
Yeah, just crying as Cedric Wilson was having the game I predicted CeeDee Lamb would have. It just breaking me inside and out. So for anyone wondering, go check them out on www.thrivefantasy.com, or check them out on the App Store or the Google Play Store and use promo code SR1917. Thank you to the people who have been doing that. That has been fantastic. Now, I'm not going to say that the Thrive Fantasy people are surprised that people are actually using the promo code, but they have mentioned that now, since several of you have, in fact, cashed in on it, what sort of compensation we would be looking for. So I am delighted now to have that conversation.
And just for my own purposes, me, the degenerate gambler over here, can you just give me that promo code again, just so I can write it down?
That's SR1917. If you sign up today, you receive an instant $20 bonus on your first deposit of $20 or more. So kudos to us, just all the way through. Let's not talk about Cedric Wilson anymore. Let's just focus on the happy times, the good times, the NFL.
We should check on
that was the greatest plug I've ever heard, fellas.
I work hard.
Yeah, Dredd is the professional broadcaster of all of us tonight, and I thank you for that. I give you one small idea of next week, us doing a deep dive into a thought experiment on coaching, and then you back me up with the ad read. I appreciate it, sir. That's some real assist there. It's amazing. What's not amazing, though, is probably what's going on in the NFL. Definitely as of right now, I'm predicting it will probably get even worse, because it seems like every day the news gets just a little bit darker each and every time. For people who are wondering, the Titans and Steelers game was delayed and basically just postponed until further notice. and so that is interesting. The initial reports, though, were saying, well, a few Titans people in the organization tested positive. Then it came out that, well, it's the organization and the players. Then it came out that, well, it's several players, and I believe the number was like 7 or something. But they're going to do testing, and then another one, and then another one. Like, so who knows what the actual numbers are? Because again, I am of the conspiracy belief that the NFL is probably fudging the numbers a little bit. So if I had to guess, that means that starters are testing positive for COVID. And so they're saying that, if the NFL doesn't mention that then they're going to be the ones leaking it out there. And so the NFL is doing damage control that way.
Can I make my controversial statements are never controversial, but like, I think that as far as the season itself goes, the season will continue for quite a while before they actually do anything, because right now they are under no incentive, and I mean no incentive, to do anything but leave the season the way that it is. However,
they're going to finish the season. They absolutely are going to say, we're printing money like nobody's business. So
I think
you're going to watch practice squad players for 12 weeks.
I think everything that has recently made fantasy or the NFL so good, which includes, fantasy.
Yep.
Is going to be effectively ruined. Like, it has been, like, I have been selling dynasty teams for the last day. Very successfully, by the way, I want to say.
Oh, yeah? Yeah?
Yeah.
That's you're just saying, you know what?
Oh, not the teams themselves, just the players.
Oh, okay. I thought that you were selling the actual dynasty teams. So I was like, oh, well, that's a whole aftermarket I hadn't thought of. No?
No, that's technically illegal. But I have been selling players on my dynasty rosters that are what I would consider like volatile in the future. So, for example, I'm selling Kirk Cousins. I'm selling Teddy Bridgewater, players that I don't think will be. Let's put it this way: players I don't think will be starting quarterbacks next year in 2 quarterbacks leagues.
Sure.
I'm surprised you have buyers. I'm surprised this isn't one of those global warming rises the sea levels, so just sell your home type deals.
I mean, to a degree it is, but to a degree, like, I also managed to, for example, flip Aaron Jones and Allen Robinson, who I'm a huge fan of, for 3 firsts and Anthony Miller.
Wow.
And once again, that's like Aaron Jones and Anthony and I almost said Alex Jones and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones and yeah, seriously. Aaron Jones and our good friend I lost the name, but the Chicago wide receiver, AR-15, Allen Robinson, are the better end of that trade. But, like, I don't get a season out of those, and all of a sudden it's a wasted investment versus, like, 3 firsts for next year. Like, we'll know which college athletes got COVID and can't play anymore by the time the draft comes around.
Exactly. Turns out it's all of them.
Horrifying way to put that.
I know, it's really dark, but it's also deeply
Can
true.
you imagine if that's the thing? Like, and now Trevor Lawrence could never play football again.
Oh no! Anthony Bennett's going to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft too, just because there's nobody else available.
I mean, like, for all of how terribly the NFL is going to handle it, and I'm sure has handled it for now. Though I have to admit, delaying the game was something I didn't expect they did. It makes me think that it's a lot worse than they're letting on.
Yep.
Because no way are they delaying the games otherwise.
I mean, I'm thinking it's like Tannehill and Henry are among the listed players that got COVID.
The unlisted players, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh man, if it's those guys, then the Vikings are screwed.
So we currently
if it's anyone on the lines,
we have a confirmed list right now. Mm-hmm. They have placed the 5 players on the COVID designation. And as of yet, there are no Vikings players that have tested positive with the rapid response tests. The ones tomorrow are going to be the big deal.
Yeah.
It's not like, as of yet, none of the big names have been listed, but you never know.
Wink. Just like, I mean, I really think that they're doing this kind of handshake and a nod thing with asymptomatic play. I really do.
I can tell you the names of who've been placed on it. So it's a linebacker, Correa.
Okay.
It's nose tackle, long snapper, and the practice squad tight end.
Perfect.
I mean, that's more people in the trenches than you would want to get COVID.
You know,
In terms of like the position group, that's like if any of these people get infected, the whole league is completely screwed. That's kind of the one.
what was that college team 2 weeks ago that they said that they can't play because they had like a whole position group test positive for
FAU,
COVID?
baby.
Yeah.
Go Owls. No DBs. Anti-DBU because they had no DB healthy to play, which is unbelievable.
That is a level of frustrating I just don't think we'll know. For anyone also wondering why we haven't really mentioned the Thursday night game, it's Broncos and Jets 0-3 versus 0-3. Just so just a toilet bowl style game. And
It's actually apparently popping off. By the way,
I'm sure it's great because the level of play is equal to each other. Like I would probably imagine it's like a 1-score game. And like that knowing the Broncos defense, I would guess that like Sam Darnold probably like got hurt by now is my guess. Like Bradley
He rushed
Chubb.
in a touchdown.
You're right on both. Actually, he did get hurt, and he ran in a 40-something yard touchdown. He's their leading rusher too. He's got 63 yards on 4 carries.
Sam Darnold.
They're this year's Miami Dolphins. Do you guys know that Ryan Fitzpatrick led that team in rushing last year?
Insane to think about.
Not a running back. 39-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I enjoy seeing those statistics about they're like people his age who have rushed for at least like 25 yards in a game and a touchdown, and like he's climbing up the leaderboard to where he will be the only quarterback in a column full of running backs.
I'm gonna be furious when Tom Brady starts at like 42 starts running, using his legs, because it's going to ruin all of Fitzpatrick's legacy.
Yeah, leave it to Tom Brady to try and ruin the majesty of Fitzmagic here. So real quick, I wanted us to go through 4 upcoming games and just kind of talk a little bit about them, either from a fantasy perspective or the news perspective. But this is kind of like 4 games that I want to monitor because they are going to be my heat checks on. Sorry for mentioning the Heat. But on how the NFL
You're about to mention the Vikings, buddy. So
yeah, I know.
This is about to get much worse for me.
Well, and that takes us to the Sunday, the noon game, which is the Vikings, who are 0-3 at the Texans, who are 0-3. So your
Toilet
team
bowl.
versus my hometown team, and man, this has been just not a fun ride, I think, for either franchise.
So for the Texans, I'll speak on your behalf, Kelton, as the resident Texans fan here. You guys have played incredibly good teams and lost games that you were expected to lose. The Vikings have been obliterated in all 3 of their performances against also very good teams.
I wouldn't say they got obliterated in their last game against the Titans. That was entertaining.
Yes, that was entertaining and close, but
especially from a fantasy perspective. Like, I mean, didn't Dalvin Cook have like the most rushing yards in his career in that game?
He's a beast.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal. But listen, the Texans are better than an 0-3 team.
Okay.
I don't know if the Vikings are.
Okay. Now, I'm going to predict a high-scoring game, not necessarily a fun game. Probably high scoring and also a bunch of turnovers. So imagine, it's like 30-34, but also somehow 25 points have been left on the board by either team, kind of a situation.
Who's going to intercept the ball from Deshaun, Kelton?
Who's going to intercept the ball from Kirk Cousins? Huh? Explain that to me.
I don't know.
I want to say something right now as somebody who I don't love Kirk Cousins, but I love the Vikings. And I don't love the Texans, but I do love Deshaun Watson.
I see. Switch.
This is well, no, because but this will be a miserable game because there is so much talent being squandered on all sides of the ball, and it will make one franchise question, should we just tank the rest of the season? And it'll make the other franchise decide that they have a shot at pulling it off in the long run.
Dear God, please let the Vikings win for my sake as a Texans fan.
I'm so sorry, buddy, but they're not going to.
We had the wherewithal to waive Earl Thomas. That's not going to happen again if we win a game here. Like, they're going to be like, come on back. Let's see what we can do.
I think the Texans win this, for a simple reason.
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, Bill O'Brien is a better on-the-field coach, and I know that's hard to hear. On-the-field coach, not a general manager. He is the worst general manager,
okay,
maybe in the league, but he's a better on-the-field coach than what you have in Minnesota. I actually think that Minnesota's offensive coordinator is better than their coach.
You think that Gary Kubiak is going to get outwitted by, God, what was his name? Anthony Weaver.
No, I don't think so. I think Gary Kubiak would be the ideal person to step in and be the interim head coach when they fire their head coach after going
No, they're not going to get rid of Zimmer.
There's no rumors. There's no anything among the organization, but a lot of the fan base is starting to awaken.
I would kill for the Texans to get a coach like Mike Zimmer, and then
have a better on-the-field coach than Zimmer. I hate to say this because God is he incompetent as a GM, and God is he
it's a package deal, man. Like,
it doesn't have to be. It didn't have. If the Patriots didn't
accuse my coach,
if the Patriots didn't accuse you of cheating, like if the Patriots didn't say they're tampering,
we definitely were though.
Yeah, you were, but it's the Patriots. They cheat.
They didn't have to snitch. They didn't have to snitch. That's the problem.
You're like, I think it's kind of sus, over there. Like you would have had a GM. You would have had DeAndre Hopkins.
It hurts. Or
the Patriots destroyed the Texans.
Imagine, because if we did have a GM, we probably would have realistically ended up trading Hopkins just because of Bill O'Brien and Hopkins didn't get along. But we would have gotten, 3 first-rounders probably out of it.
Yeah.
Hey, you got more than that. You got the leading man from scrimmage in 2016, David Johnson.
That's right.
That's worth so much
the man
more
who, if you are 2 yards from the goal line, the Texans.
Yeah, he'll give you 2 yards. He'll give you 2 yards.
Oh, well, no, I was going to say, he is the guy who, if you're 2 yards from the goal line, you already know what's happening because Bill O'Brien is going to try and prove a point with number of total touchdowns.
It's been great for my fantasy team.
Wonderful. I don't think that it's sustainable because David Johnson is going to break in half at some point. But
no, buddy, David Johnson's great. He's going to do wonderful.
Here's why I'm picking the Vikings, legitimately. Is that apparently after the second half, once that interval ended with the Texans and the Steelers found out what the Texans' tell was for every running play. They were able to then send their DBs sprinting and just crush the Texans.
Mike Tomlin is a better coach than Mike Zimmer.
Mike Zimmer will know what that tell is, though, and I don't think.
I do not believe it. Look, I am so first off, I am a huge Kevin Stefanski defender. So, and I'm a huge Gary Kubiak defender.
Yeah.
So you may notice a person in this trio that I'm leaving out.
Okay.
Dame, you're a Vikings fan, so I should let you take this. But
you're a lot more passionate about Mike Zimmer hatred than I am. So I'll just follow up with more detail, and you can just continue going off the rails because it's very fun.
Mike Zimmer defenses are notoriously hard to learn. They have packed their defense full of rookies. Mm-hmm. Additionally, they do not have a good scheme or a good response to most teams they've faced.
I completely
There's
agree.
A reason why they started ahead against the Titans and then fell apart. And I fully believe that is what will happen.
Do you believe that the Titans have a more talented roster than the Texans? right now.
I do, but I think they have a profoundly less talented quarterback.
That's perfectly fine. I think that they're gonna know exactly when the runs are at halftime. I believe in that.
Here's the thing, Kelton. Here's the thing. Bill O'Brien can call 0 runs, 100%.
He won't do it. That's my point. He won't do it because he's going to try and prove a point with David Johnson. It is
He's going to pass to David Johnson.
Thing.
David Johnson's going to be your number one receiver.
Honestly, probably. Deshaun Watson will throw 0 incompletions because there is not a person in that secondary that can guard anyone on the Texans' offense.
One incompletion, Dave. When Will Fuller decides to do a hard cut and tears his ACL and the ball sails 5 yards out of reach, that's going to be an incompletion. Okay.
That'll be the what? He'll go.
That'll be an interception.
35.
It just lands in the DB's hands softly like a bird.
Perfectly cradling it as he runs to the end zone. Yeah. I mean, Jed's right. The Mike Zimmer specialty has been his defense his whole time in Minnesota. And while you can cut him a lot of leeway for the lack of talent on the defensive side of the ball, if you're a defensive head coach, you should be able to implement a system that still provides you an adequate defense, even if you're starting a bunch of rooks. The fact that they're fielding just the worst thing I've seen in years, it's hard to say it's not his fault.
Well, since we got to unfortunately, have to move on. Those are all very valid points, by the way, Dane and Dred. I am picking the Vikings on a score of like 34-30. Who would y'all pick? And then what would y'all pick the score as being?
It's going to be lopsided one way or the other. I say whoever wins, it's going to be 37-20. Okay, so like a Chiefs-Ravens kind of spread.
Yeah.
But I'm going to pick the Texans, but it could easily be flopped.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
We'll go 41-38 Houston. I'm going to say they both just drop a whole ton of points on each other.
Okay.
As the defenses leave a steaming pile of turd on the field.
So as we're all bickering with each other, ultimately we're disagreeing about a sway of about 6 points from one team or the other. I get it here. So let's then move into the afternoon game, a game which I don't actually think is going to be close, but a lot of people do.
You picked 3 bad games.
Listen,
I'm joking. Not bad for this. I'm saying they're going to be bad to watch.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I'm going with something I think is going to be like I'm having to predict what games are going to be the games that create the storylines for the next week, and I think that storylines are going to come from each of these games. The logic, at least, the method to my madness here. So, the Patriots, who are 2-1, are visiting the Chiefs, who are 3-0. And man, this is a game that people seem to really be hyping up because they're seeing something in the Patriots that I'm not, and I just see that the Chiefs are a fucking juggernaut. I mean, I think that the Chiefs are in the best mode for them to be in at the beginning of the season. And so I'm not saying like if this were the playoffs and you gave Bill Belichick a whole season worth of tape to look at everything, that that might be a different game. But regular season before week 5, even before week 8, like that's a different type of Patriots team. So I would fully expect the Patriots to lose to the Chiefs by a fair amount. So
I think there's only one defense that can make Patrick Mahomes look mortal. And that is the broken and beaten Chargers defense, which for some reason made him look tough. And then all of a sudden didn't matter. Turns out when you have so it turns out when you have just a fucking magic man that can just make magic happen.
He makes everything look so easy. Did y'all watch the Monday night game? Okay.
Yeah.
I was legitimately watching going like, he's not like that impressive. And then I look at his stat sheet and it's just, holy mother of God. 5 total touchdowns, 500 yards. Holy shit.
It would be like this. And once again, not to nerd out here, but it's like you're fielding a true to life, accurate Civil War reenactment, and one guy shows up with a tank, and the guy he shows up with a tank, and he says, "Nope, actually, this is real." And just nobody can convince him otherwise, and he just drives forward, and he wins the reenactment. And that's Mahomes.
This is you have your prison baseball league, and somehow one of your guys is 04 Barry Bonds.
Yeah. I mean, he's a walking cheat code, but I also think that the Kansas City defense has like strung together some fairly impressive performances. So I don't want to give Spagnuolo like too much credit here, but I mean, like I wouldn't think that, you know, in terms of like a fantasy option, that Kansas City is going to be like a bottom half thing. I would see them finishing like a top 15, maybe even top 10 defense.
I don't think they will have a ton of interceptions. I think they'll be top 15. I don't think they'll be top 5. So, for example, I think there'll be a cheap play on some DFS sites that you could use, but they won't be like a good like upside play.
Yep.
But this is the way that I see this game. I think it's really obvious. The only loss the Patriots have had this season is against what I think is actually the best offense in the league, better than the Chiefs right now, which is Russell cooking Westbrook. Wilson. Russell cooking Wilson, not Westbrook.
Do you think Russell Westbrook cries whenever they hear like "let Russ cook" because he knows they will never say that for him in Houston?
I guarantee he does. But Russell Wilson is playing unbelievably out of his mind. Literally the best touchdown. He's on pace for 78 touchdowns.
Yes.
Let
him
go.
Get it.
Please.
And so please, just for the sake of the world.
Imagine what a warpath that would put Patrick Mahomes on the following season.
Think about it. It's one of them's going to be, you know, effectively the USSR, and the other one is, you know, the USA, and they're just going to keep arms racing it.
Yeah.
But the reality is, the Chiefs are just a better Seahawks. They're a slightly less explosive offense right now, but could be more explosive. And they're a substantially better defense. And the Patriots lost on the 1 yard line to the Seahawks' bad defense. I think it won't be that close for the Chiefs.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all kind of in agreement here. What do you think, Dame?
Oh, I mean, I was going to say this was going to be the quickest and shortest section that we've talked about tonight.
Oh yeah,
worried about going long. It's going to end now. The Chiefs are going to win. I mean, we've already covered everything. I don't see anything in the Chiefs. I don't see a weakness in them. I don't see anything that, even if there was one, I don't know if the Patriots have the personnel to be able to exploit it.
When I saw Patrick Mahomes run 12 yards back on 3rd and 11 or whatever it was, to give Mecole Hardman enough time to just burn downfield, that was when I was legitimately terrified for what this season.
They're a Tech Mobile offense.
Yeah,
it's literally you pull that thing out of the SNES and just put it on the field. There's nothing that the Patriots or anybody else at this point are going to be able to do. So Chiefs win.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that at least in Bill Belichick's mind, we see another super ground and pound style attack in hopes of, okay, you can't beat them on points, so you can just keep them off the field and then just kind of hope for that.
I would think the best approach as someone who has no experience coaching in the NFL or anywhere else.
Hey, the Patriots Bulls went to the championship. Don't sell yourself short, Dave.
Yeah, the Madden titles, the Tech Mobile titles. The Patriots defense is extremely good at stopping elite tight ends. And I think they're going to be able to. I think the only chance they have is if they're able to replicate that and still somehow keep Tyreek double covered on every play.
As a Kelsey owner, I hope not, but yes, no, that's absolutely.
They annihilated Waller. They annihilated Gesicki. Like, it's not looking good for Kelsey, but but if they're able to do all of that, then I think your approach of slow it down as much as possible might be the only way. I just don't think they can. I don't think they can do it.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Any
Bill
closing thoughts,
Belichick is
Fred?
going to call me. He's going to call me directly, Dave. What are you saying? We can't do it. We held them to 10 points. You fucking idiot.
We scored 3,
Great.
but
Right. Like that's the thing is they could genuinely this could be the lowest scoring game Patrick Mahomes plays in all year, and the Patriots could still lose.
by 2 scores.
Yeah.
Well, we have to kick off to him once, and if we score, we also have to kick off to him. So,
Onside kick.
okay.
If you're the Falcons, you should onside kick every time, unless apparently you don't understand how the rules work.
Yeah, my God. Well, speaking, I guess, of unlucky birds, let's move into the unable to flex out of this time slot Sunday night game that NBC is just so mad about.
Think about this: when you started the season, you thought you were going to see the resurgent Eagles versus the reigning NFC champions.
Mm-hmm.
They were salivating. The big wigs at NBC were just drooling.
And on
they
one
saw that this
side,
was
it
given to
doesn't
them.
look that bad because the 49ers are 3-0. So if you're an exec who doesn't actually follow football, you're like, all right, okay, this is good. And then who are they playing? The Eagles, who are 0-2-1, which is almost
Kelvin,
worse
can
than
you,
0-3.
Can you explain who that one was to for the viewers who might not have followed last week?
Well, they ran into the buzzsaw that was the Cincinnati Bengals.
Can you tell me the record of the Bengals, please?
I believe now they are also 0-2-1, which just means that they mashed up blow for blow the entire time.
So, do we think that it was never Doug Peterson that was courageous? It was always Frank Wright?
Yes, absolutely yes. How is anyone saying anything else now at this point? Like, Josh McDaniels not going to the Colts was the single worst thing to ever happen to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That is the most Bill Belichick revenge move of all time, is holding on to Josh McDaniels so that way that Frank Reich goes. And Philadelphia is ruined from that point forward. Sorry.
They're terrible. They're so awful. I picked them to win this game. But there's no statistical foundation. The Eagles are one of the worst teams in the league. Their O-line sucks. Carson Wentz sucks. Their defense sucks.
By the way, to anyone who's saying, oh, well, it's because Carson Wentz is getting pressured, he was the 5th least pressure quarterback last week, and he was like QB 28 in QBR.
He sucks.
Like, the man
his
is
wide
broken.
His wide receivers all suck.
Injured.
Except for or hurt.
Yeah.
They either suck or are hurt. There's absolutely no reason why they should even so much as have a chance in this game, and that's why they're going to win this game.
Well,
Sure.
to be fair, the 49ers did just have to play 2 games in a row at MetLife, which has been the best defender against them ever.
That may be true. However, the 49ers didn't really play any starters last week against MetLife, and they still destroyed someone 30-9 or whatever the final score was.
If you picked up Jeff Wilson for DFS last week,
Oh my God.
you're feeling good.
Yeah, the Jeff Wilson, Rex Burkhead, pennies on the dollar play last week. Some guy is just,
Yeah, the Niners. It's just there's no reason why the Eagles should even have a chance in this game. So they're gonna pull it out. It's just they're gonna pick off Nick Mullins for like 3 pick sixes. George Kittle. They're all gonna be props for George Kittle.
Where's CJ Beathard in all this? Is he still on the roster?
Iowa legend. I'm pretty sure he's their 3rd string. Still.
He's their 3rd string, but they have Nick Mullen, whichever one's not a reactionary Twitter account.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Sorry, Cumtown Twitter account.
Yeah, he has amazing friends. Nick Mullen, San Francisco quarterbacks guy. Can you imagine if that was like the secret alt of Nick Mullen? You think that he's actually some inflammatory New York stand-up comic who now has a podcast, but in reality, he's the second string / third string quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
Undefeated this year.
He then goes from being
Undefeated this
one
year
of
in
the
case he
most
started.
well, I mean, think about it. He would go from one of the most regressive people on the quote unquote left to one of the most progressive, probably, people in the world of football. Especially, if you were to think about like Greg Kittle's fucking politics, probably.
George Kittle?
George Kittle,
Given
sorry.
his-
George Kittle
Given
doesn't
his
have
teammates.
politics. He has beer.
Yeah.
Look, I am actually more confident that George Kittle is not a reactionary because, for one reason, I don't think he thinks about anything except whatever he can plow through the next defender because he just tackles them. He's a maniac. And then the rest of the time is spent, how can I become Gronk?
Yeah. What was that
This is
story
bad.
about? Like, Gronk had a camp that Kittle was a part of for like a couple of years. Now Kittle has a camp that the Packers tight end that had a breakout game.
Jay Sternberger,
Yeah.
who is apparently going to be the next insane person to be playing tight end.
The cycle continues. It just
That-
won't
the,
fucking stop.
I sincerely hope the alt Dick Mullins theory is true, because that locker room has to be wild with him, Maniac Man Kittle, and the Bosa. Oh my God.
And Sherman.
I would pay infinite amounts of money just to be able to like watch 10 minutes of those people interacting.
Imagine Nick Bosa asking Richard Sherman why it's funny when Nick Mullins does that voice, but not when Nick Bosa does that voice.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's absolute shit show in San Francisco, and they're gonna watch them win out for the rest of the season somehow. And I hope they lose again in the Super Bowl just to keep. Well, actually, we'll have to see if this Super Bowl would let Nick Bosa realize his dream
Mhm.
of shaking hands with Donald Trump. We'll have to see. But if that is a possibility, I sincerely hope they lose again, because that's so funny.
Patrick Mahomes is the only thing stemming the tide at this point. Only domestic abusers are allowed to shake hands with the president, according to Patrick Mahomes.
Tyreek was first in line. Yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, and like as like a bold prediction point. It's not so bold now, okay? But at the time I wrote it up, I thought it was actually pretty bold for Greg Ward and Brandon Ayuk to combine for over 250 total yards and 2 touchdowns.
I think that's still bold.
I mean, it's
250 is a lot.
that was before Deshaun Jackson was like, my hamstring is still hurt as of Thursday. So I was expecting.
Yeah, that's still a lot given I know Kittle and Debo are supposed to be back this week.
Yeah,
Debo's
Debo's
not
coming
playing.
back.
Oh dear God!
Okay.
Please no, please. I mean, like I know he's practicing. I think that they said he's gonna start like week 5. I hope. If not,
Yeah, I know they cleared him, and I know Kittle's supposed to play. So I don't know anything about Nick Mullins, so I don't know if he's just gonna feed Kittle the same way
he
Garoppolo
absolutely-
did.
I mean, I don't think he'll also have much of a choice either. But like Kittle ate amazingly 2 years ago. But anyways, okay, so you're going with the Eagles. I'm going with the 49ers. Dredd, what about you?
I think we all lose, but it's the 49ers because I wish only bad things for Carson Wentz.
Wow, I didn't realize you hated the NDSU alum so much.
No, I just hate Dan Orlovsky.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
If it
Noted.
actually means anything, a weird personal anecdote of I was hanging out at the University of North Texas, and it came up about this amazing guy in the draft named Carson Wentz, who was from one of the Dakota universities, and there was this very very preppy blonde girl ahead of us who overheard the name Carson Wentz and just immediately pirouetted around. Say, oh, Carson Wentz? I'm like, well, I know of him. She's like, well, he's an asshole. He went to a party and he called me fat. And it's just like this gorgeous blonde person. And I was like, well, a very interesting move, Carson Wentz, to do that. Because apparently.
At UNT?
Yeah. It was bizarre. It was bizarre. She was a transfer from whatever the Dakota University was.
Gotcha. I thought Carson Wentz might have just heard how great Denton, Texas was and decided to say, fuck Fargo. We're going to Denton.
No. She was in whatever graduate program. I forget what it was. But it was amazing because for a split moment, I guess because also she wasn't like that familiar with football, but she thought I was maybe friends with this Carson Wentz guy.
Who is an asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Wentz is an asshole.
Changing your pick
I'm
now.
changing my pick. Wentz is an asshole. 49ers. Go Niners. How dare you do that, Carson Wentz?
I'll say this much. I think it would actually be the best thing for the Eagles for them to lose at this point because I think they need to tear off the Band-Aid. I actually do think that Carson Wentz, somewhere in him, has that talented skill set. I don't think he has 2017. I think that's an outlier, but I think he has first half of 2019 where he was like competent.
Trying to even remember what that was like. I mean, in terms of stat wise for him.
I just think he's a more in his head quarterback than anyone else in the league because I think
every year it becomes, was it Goff or Wentz? Like, which was the better quarterback? The answer is always Dak. I don't know why we bother having this conversation.
And that's the thing is that I hate that conversation. That's why I wish ill on Wentz is because I hate the people who are like, oh, well, Wentz is clearly the superior prototypical quarterback. I'm like, no, the Cowboys are a dumpster fire of an organization, but Dak Prescott is a top 5 quarterback. Mm-hmm. Carson Wentz is not a top 15 quarterback.
Yep.
Carson Wentz is also named. He's also named Carson, which is just a super make funnable name.
I mean, he's turning into a physical copy of Big Ben every year. He went from being like a Prince Harry lookalike to he's doing this weird like Big Ben transformation.
Yep, it's amazing, especially as Big Ben is now getting thinner. You know, because he's now like trim Big Ben. So now it will be amazing because it is possible 2 years from now for Carson Wentz to be bigger than Big Ben. Like that,
Big Ben will be skinny Carson Wentz.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm looking at it right now. Like they're like surprisingly similar. Back when he had like a normal hairline before his like widowed all the way. Like even when he was just like actually keeping his edge ups good, like it was fine. But now he just looks like a young, less creepy Big Ben.
You would think my man would have a good barber living in Philly, but
that would require him to talk to black people, though. And I guarantee you that outside of his teammates, he doesn't.
North Dakota State University guy.
The hyper-conservative Christian North Dakota State guy.
Yeah. Oh, man. Let's see. What's his listed height, weight?
Okay, so Ben Roethlisberger is listed at 6'5", 241. I actually believe the 241 now.
Wentz is at 6'5", 237, according to Wikipedia.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
Big Ben is only 4 pounds heavier than Carson Wentz.
Bro, Ben, if Ben skips breakfast, he's skinny Carson Wentz.
And I want us to think about this as well. These are probably old weights. By the way, I understand that they were probably lying. It's possible that Big Ben is like 235 and Carson is 245 right now.
Oh, I lied. So Wikipedia said that. There's this article from August 17th that said Carson Wentz bulked up to 250 pounds.
Oh my God.
After putting on dad bod. Yeah, Lane Johnson said that he went from 237 to 250 and that it's now Carson Wentz is rocking the dad bod.
All right. Big Ben is down to, I'm trying to see it. He specifically said, I'm down 15 pounds.
Yeah, that means he's 226. Hell yeah.
I think he's probably actually down to 241 from 256.
Little Ben, Big Wentz. Oh man.
He's he's somewhere under 245, that's for sure. And Carson Wentz is, oh my God, my worldview is shattered.
NFL representation for chubby boys. Let's go.
This is amazing. This is amazing. Yeah, no, he's listed as of right now on NFL.com. So this is pulling from whatever I guess the teams reported it in. He's at 6'5", 240. So that's what we're looking at here for. That is wild. I can't
Look, I'll say this. I think Carson Wentz is a mental quarterback in the fact that going down for injury and then suddenly having, instead of your team falling apart, having Big Dick Nick come around and beat the fucking Patriots.
Yep.
Like, he's never been the same after that. And then his team drafts Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden, Max Kellerman and other people are whispering, start Jalen Hurts.
Don't do
and
that.
You know what?
Jalen Hurts deserves better.
Do you know what Carson Wentz does instead of just being like, okay, I got to calm down. I got to play competent. I got to do what Baker's doing. Baker's remediating his career over there by making easy passes and not making too many mistakes and letting Odell act as a fucking cornerback.
Yep.
I'm going to channel that. And instead, I'm going to play hero ball. I'm going to aim all day, every day. I got to recapture 2017. That's the thing. He's already trying to recapture glory days.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. No, I'm getting some real Favre second year in Minnesota vibes.
Oh, let's not go back there, Kelton. Come on. Let's not. We'll skip. We'll pretend 2010 didn't happen.
I'll own this one. I'm getting some Shaq and Celtics gear vibes.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy. Sun Shaq.
Hey! Let's not
Sun Shaq was at least in the
Shaq
South.
to compare him to Carson Wentz like that. That's not appropriate.
Look, I just think that Carson Wentz is cooked not from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint. I think, frankly speaking, Doug Peterson turns out was not the magic sauce. It was always Frank Reich.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, like, for years, you had the Andrew Luck effect of their offensive line not giving him enough time, but their offensive line is doing great this year.
Yeah.
Dame just talked about it. He's not being pressured.
Yeah.
He's just trying to get every ball down on the field all the way.
Mm-hmm. Here's my question.
Give me picks.
3 years from now, if you're trying to or 2 years, I'm sorry, if Carson Wentz is on the trade block, Frank Reich of the Colts, you finally wrapped up with Phillip Rivers. Do you decide to bring him back on and say, you know what, I can fix this?
Yeah, I accept 2 second-round picks to take on the Carson Wentz salary.
Yeah, no, I mean, that legitimately might be the case if then Jalen Hurts is especially making noise in training camp. Because, I mean, you need someone who can probably back up Jalen Hurts.
I don't think that's going to happen either. Jalen Hurts is not the kind of talent that the Oklahoma quarterbacks he played after is.
I'm a Hurts believer, but okay.
I'm a Hurts believer too, but I think I'm a Hurts believer in that I think he could have a Jacoby Brissett like career.
Yeah.
And that he could be the best backup in the league constantly, and a credit to whatever team needs him. I think he could be better than that. I think he could Nick Foles a team. He could be competent for 3 games in a row.
I just think that his rushing and his legs, I mean, he doesn't get enough credit for them.
Sure. I just think that the Eagles could be bad enough that we might be talking about them for a quarterback in this draft.
Wow.
Justin Fields, welcome to Philadelphia.
I'm just saying, like, I'm looking at the defeated teams, let's call them, the winless teams, and like, I don't think the Texans end up in the bottom 5. And even if they did, they don't take a quarterback. They should take an offensive lineman, but they should do that at 6 or something. Like, who else do you have? You have the Jets. The Jets will lose the rest of their games, but like, that's one team you're competing with, but they'll fluke into a couple of division wins. They always do.
Yep. It's going to be weird.
Like, you have the Broncos, who I think they'll fluke into a couple wins. You have the Bengals, who I think probably win more games than they lose from here on out. So the only other, like, in your division, the other teams are like the Giants. Like, you could easily go worse than the Giants just on luck. And then the Vikings and the Falcons are the chokiest team in the league, but they won't finish too far from 8-8. Neither will the Vikings. So you're competing with the Giants, who are in your division, probably should draft a quarterback if they get there. The Bengals, who aren't going to draft a quarterback and probably finish around 500. The Jets, who, God, if the Jets go and draft a quarterback, then that says, let's just put it this way. If the Jets go that bad, things are much worse even than you'd even think about. And like the only other teams that I could see legitimately competing for the maybe they don't win another game for the rest of the first half of the year is the, like, I guess you could make the argument that the Falcons find a way to do it, but I don't think so. It's really only the two other teams. There's not a team in the NFC West that it doesn't have a winning record. And I think as long as they don't play each other, that's going to keep being the case. Like, you could definitely see our wonderful friends in the Eagles at the number 2 or number 3 pick.
It's very possible if they decide to blow it up. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with it. It's going to be interesting journey as we see teams all continue to slide. Like, at what point in terms of let's assume it's week 9, what would you say their record would need them to be at for them not to consider pushing forward and tanking, at the very least, to just get a better lineman, if not a better quarterback? What would you say?
If I have won 5 out of my next 7 games.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I'm 500 at week 10,
okay,
I would keep pushing.
You get another tie just to maintain the 500. That's
basically
even further. Yeah.
Parity. So let's say 4 out of the next 6.
Sure.
So you're 2-2-1 or 4-4-1. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At that point, I keep pushing.
Carson Wentz has hero balled his way into being 4-4-1. Oh God. All right. So last game. To end things off on a high note here, this is going to be the in my head, fantasy wise, the marquee matchup. It's a shame that's happening on Monday because this would be the game if it was happening on Sunday. I would say just pick all your players from this bunch. Work your way backwards from there. We have the 0-3 Falcons at the 3-0 Packers. This is
out to be 0-4.
Yep.
This is not going well for Atlanta.
But if I hear what everyone is saying, but we have to go back and we have to think about all the losses. You're talking about like, oh, they're a bad bump away, blah blah blah.
All the losses, they Doc Rivers more than Doc Rivers did.
It's real bad.
It's a Dan Quinn at this point. It's Matty Ice.
They have found a way to 28-3 every single game this season. Like, this is some witch's curse that they cannot get rid of.
They thought the Bills were going to 28-3, and instead they did something worse. No team has been up that much in the fourth quarter and then lost twice in a season, let alone twice in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know how, if you are the ownership, that you think, you know what, we got to bring this guy back. We got to save Dan Quinn and his job, because he fired all of his coordinators. He did the parachute maneuver of you cut away literally everyone, let them loose, say that they were the dead weight, so it buys you a year.
Okay, so here's a point that I think people forget. Playing the Patriots in the Super Bowl, whether you win or lose, destroys a team. You have to make some sort of eldritch bargain. I'm not joking. Like, let's just go through real quick some Super Bowl matchups with the Patriots, right?
Okay.
Let's go back to the first time the Patriots won a Super Bowl.
The greatest show on turf, the Rams.
What happened next year at the greatest show on turf was not the greatest show on turf anymore.
You could say what happened for the next 20 years at the greatest show on turf, man.
I agree completely. All right, let's take a look at our next set of Patriots showing up. We have what is it after that? Is it 2004 that's next? Yeah,
I think it's the
2004
Panthers. Yeah.
against the Panthers. And the Panthers lose, and the Panthers are a miserable franchise until Cam Newton.
Yeah,
they
Delope
get to be
turns back
miserable.
into a pumpkin, right?
All right, then in 2005, we have the Eagles. And once again, the Eagles are a miserable franchise
They
again.
imploded right after that with Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb, right?
Everything went wrong.
Literally, wasn't it the next season when
Yes.
they,
Everything started to go wrong the next season. Then you have in
3 for 3.
Then you have 2008, you have the Giants. The Giants win.
but then they
They'll
suck.
disintegrate. Yes,
Yeah.
they suck for 3 years. Then it's the Giants again. They win, and they with that Eldritch bargain, they are decimated for the rest of time.
That and like a $400 million contract to Eli Manning.
You will give out contracts to franchise players, and they will either get hurt or you will trade them until the end of time.
Or they will just suck. Next, it's the Seahawks trying to be back-to-backers. Like the Seahawks had just definitively beaten the Broncos. I don't know if you remember how bad that score was.
You
but
mean
the Broncos
from the opening snap of the overhike? And
Yeah.
it somehow just got worse from there. Yeah.
Hey, my man Percy Harvin ran in a touchdown in that game. That's the only thing that I remember. I was in
And then-
Florida at the time, and I went nuts.
You have they lose on the 1 yard line, guaranteeing Matt Patricia a future job he doesn't deserve. But
That he uses
like,
as justification at every boardroom.
I made the best defensive call in Super Bowl. Yeah, you got lucky that Malcolm Butler was out of place on a play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not even joking. That's what it was. But
Yep.
so the Seahawks are then never the same. They are always a good team because Russell Wilson's amazing, but the rest of their team starts disintegrating, and Pete Carroll spirals into madness.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, the Legion of Boom fell apart.
I was gonna say,
Like, right away.
that's what it was. Is that, I mean, the Seahawks almost beat the curse, except for the fact that it's now almost a worse curse, since of one half of your entire football organization will always, like a stone around your neck, drag the other half down, and it's the Legion of Boom. Like,
Yeah, while you were having the Legion of Boom, you wouldn't let Russ cook, and while you let Russ cook, you only did so because your defense has become the worst in the league.
mm-hmm. My God, what a devil's bargain there.
And then the next two teams are also bird teams.
Oh my God.
Like you have the Falcons. Like it took the third bird team to get them.
That's
Like to be fair, the Patriots did lose to the Ravens in AFC Championship, so I guess like other bird teams have gotten there. But the Falcons melted down 28-3 and have never played a successful like season since.
The Rams
And
even had a mental breakdown. Yeah.
The Rams are good again this year, but it's only out of like being a weird running team.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, he did break Sean McVay's mind for a full year. Like, you're right. You're right.
it's a testament to how good Sean McVay is that he's not still broken.
We don't know that yet.
Well, you're
don't
right.
know.
It's too early.
Bill Belichick could Manchurian candidate Sean McVay in the playoffs.
Activate McVay bot.
If we're going to be completely honest, I actually think that there's a real reason behind this phenomenon, not just a curse.
Yeah, longer season in general, or what?
It's very difficult in the NFL to have sustained success, and the Patriots are an anomaly and not the norm.
Both of those things are true. But the other reason is if the Patriots beat you, it is usually in an embarrassing or heartbreaking way that leaves you emotionally drained and then causes you to make drastic decisions the next year. And if you beat the Patriots, you immediately make bad decisions based on this idea that you actually earned that win and not that it was some weird fluke luck. And so like, or the people that made it possible get hired away. So Frank Reich gets hired to Indianapolis. Like you give Eli the longest contract known to man, not actually, but still, like you lock up Eli Manning and you're like, oh yes, this man has brought us to 2 Super Bowls that weren't flukes or weird things happening. Clearly this is what we must do.
Yes, with the Velcro
So what you're saying
helmets
is-
galore. Yeah.
What you're saying is if you're the NFC teams, you want the AFC championship game to go before you. And if the Patriots win, you do everything in your power to lose the NFC championship.
Yeah. You go back.
Because if you're up against the Patriots, the best case scenario is you win, and then all the pieces that made you win get hired away, and all the pieces that you thought made you win get locked down incorrectly.
Mhm.
And if you lose, the psyche of your players are broken.
You love to see it. You love to see what has happened as Bill Belichick has become just the scourge on this earth.
He is the lich.
Because also to correct people, just to understand maybe some possible psychological warfare that's occurring here. Who's your team in the NFL, Dredd?
It is the Patriots.
Okay, so
I am a fool.
as you're beating the war drum, trying to say plague is coming upon you and your house.
Once again, I am actually, so I'm much less passionate about specific teams in football than I am in basketball. In basketball, I'm a diehard Celtics fan, but in football, I'm much more about individual players than I am about teams.
Mm-hmm.
But the Patriots are my local team. I lived in Massachusetts for 4 years. Like, I'm from New England, from Vermont. And like, I hate everything that makes the Patriots great because they're all like reactionary psychos.
Oh yeah.
But it's a genuine testament that like they dug up some Lovecraft shit somewhere in Massachusetts and put that into the Patriots.
I love the tale of two worlds here, Dredd, where we go from celebrating Hassan Whiteside for beating the drum of self-determination for the people of Hawaii, and now you're going on about the imperial war machine known as the New England Patriots.
Look, I will tell you this: one of the greatest things about being a Patriots fan is when they lose, I'm going to be like, that was a victory against racism.
Patriots lose 24-14, and you're just like, yes, indeed, Wakanda forever. I agree. Thank you.
Boston wins another title, and you have to add another letter to the Proud Boys tattoo on your forearm.
Except the Proud Boys tattoo is all in Cam Newton font. You know what he uses.
Oh my God! Thank God Cam Newton is on the Patriots, because now 1,000 Boston. I'm joking. I'm being sarcastic here, but 1,000 Southie guys get to be like, oh wait, I'm not racist. Look, I got Cam Newton on my team. I love him. Like, seriously, kick a car. How can you say I'm racist? I love him.
Yeah, it's just so. Oh God, Cam Newton is doing more to just fix the Patriots' whole like PR system than I think any player ever could.
Cam Newton's going to come out in a MAGA hat at some point, and every guy in Southeast is going to be like, ah!
Yeah, but it's gonna be a wide brim MAGA hat. So it's gonna be like
it's a sun hat.
Fresh.
Yeah.
It's a MAGA fez, actually.
Oh my God.
Love to see it, Cam Newton. Just for the economics of it, you have to understand. If I was paid how I deserve to be paid, I could have these progressive ideals. However, I'm trying to make it work on a mere $1 million this season.
Look, here's the real secret, and it's awful to say this. Like, I'm not making excuses, because Bob Kraft. Look, there are every NFL owner is a bad person. Bob Kraft is one of the worst people in the NFL. He's the Donald Sterling of the NFL.
Oh yeah.
Alleged sex trafficker Bob Kraft.
Hey,
Definitely.
all I know about Bob Kraft is he bought prostitutes in Miami, and to that I say,
Allegedly.
who hasn't? Who hasn't?
Do you not want to support sex workers, sir?
Not that one.
Going up to a pimp, just saying, like,
I want to support you. I'm not a swerve. Let me help you out. So, but every coach, like Pete Carroll, is actually more like, it's fucked up to say, because Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are friends with Trump. So like, you'd think that would make them the most reactionary coach and quarterback in the league, but somehow it doesn't. Like, Ben Roethlisberger is still like weirdly more conservative. He was the duo man in the Stormy Daniels issues with Trump. Like, he was the other guy that helped him out with that.
Yeah.
And Pete Carroll is personal friends with Jordan Peterson. And like,
it's Pete Carroll almost is like the weirdest one to me. I think his politics are like probably one of the most like centrist dim lib overall of it.
Isn't he a 9/11 truther?
no, he used to be, but not publicly anymore.
Oh, okay. That makes it okay, I guess.
He's a 9/11 truther in the sense of so why was that holiday happening, huh? Anyways, okay, I'm friends with Jordan Peterson, so
He brought Jordan Peterson in to do a motivational lecture to his entire team before Jordan Peterson was put into exile by his carnivorous daughter.
yeah.
What did he? What did he? Do they not know that Zany bars don't help you on the football field? That's the last guy. I don't want to bring in the guy with the benzo addiction. I want to bring the guy that's addicted to Adderall.
Honestly speaking, though, I cannot imagine a worse
Yes,
motivational speaker than Jordan Peterson. Like to psych up your football team. Like
I want to see Zizek do a football team psych up.
No.
Like
I mean, honestly, it's got to be Rogan, right? Like of all of like the reactionary chuds.
So you see, the things you must do is you must carry the ball towards the end zone, and then you see, it's a matter of critique.
Whichever team hires Michael Parenti is the one that's winning the Super Bowl.
No, they got to get some real Posadists up there, like a Super Bowl as a vehicle for nuclear destruction.
We have to win. It's the only way we can smuggle in this uranium.
The first anarcho-primitivist head coach for the NFL is going to be the one. If we get the trophy, we can return to Monkey.
Monkey. It's but yeah, like obviously the New England Patriots, like Boston's one of the most racist cities in America. I'm just gonna say this right now. Like I hate.
Yeah, you and every player who's played for the Celtics agrees.
Yeah, I know. It's like it sucks so bad because like I guarantee you, like as fan bases go, like the Patriots aren't the same as the Celtics. The Celtics have some weird like holdover, like just like white racists from the West Coast, like Ben Shapiro and like.
Is Ben Shapiro a Celtics fan?
Yeah, Ben Shapiro is a Celtics fan. It's.
Tell him, don't edit that out. We need that needs to be in the final cut.
It's but like I like being a Celtics fan is loving the players, loving Bill Russell, loving the team, and hating every other person that roots for it. Being a Patriots fan is like, yeah, I'm just gonna get drunk on Sundays, and it's really great being a fan of a team that's just like objectively has the best coach in the league, even if he's an evil monster.
Well, I think that's a nice reflection point for us to then think of. How can we each reflect on who are the monsters inside of us that we can coach up into victory, that we can compartmentalize and justify for our fandoms in weird, bizarre little ways, because otherwise just wouldn't be allowed to enjoy this sport where, CTE destroys their bodies.
Oh yeah, it's a blood sport.
And 99% of them are shitheads. Yeah.
Yeah. The best thing that you can hope for is that there's like some wildly, just transgressive transphobe. Like that's probably the wokest guy playing in the NFL right now. Like that's.
It probably would have been the Ravens lineman, but I thought he retired to go back to being like an actual medical doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think right now I think the most leftist is Justin Jefferson, who's the third running back on the Chargers.
Yeah.
Hey, Justin Jackson rules, man.
Yeah,
Justin Jackson's awesome.
Yeah, he's a social democrat, so he's like the only good one.
Yeah, no, I loved drafting him and then finding out that Joshua Kelly just fucking leapfrog. It was great. It was a fantastic time to be had by all. But okay, that's gonna go ahead and do it for an episode. I'm just gonna stop saying that we ran long because fuck it. I really enjoyed the last half hour, probably more than anything else, because that was great. Just talking about the NFL as a whole, it's the situation that it is. But gentlemen, where can people find you? Do you have anything to plug? What's going on in your world?
Well, don't find me. Okay. Never look for me. I live in constant fear of drones. But if I can plug anything, we're going into the cold months right now. And there is, especially in our larger cities, going to be a lot of people that are housing insecure that need food aid. So if you can, you don't need to be on the front lines. You don't need to be out there serving meals. But if you can find your local food aid organizations, donate to that, help them bag stuff, donate your time, your labor, your any extra resources you have, or just your ability to publicize it.
Mm-hmm. No, that I think is very, very good. That's something that we should all be trying to focus on, like you said. Bold. What about you, Dame? What's going on?
Yeah. So I don't know how I followed that up because that was probably the best plug of the day. If you want to follow me, at Lord_Larson on Twitter. I don't tweet. I just retweet a bunch of stuff about other people's pets and talk in the DMs to these fools about sports. In terms of plugs, do everything Dred just said as a separate one, I guess. A Gainesville punk band about a month ago released a new album. They're called Dikembe. The album's called Muck. 25% of all proceeds go to Grace Marketplace, which is a homeless charity in Gainesville, Florida, and the rest go to paying off their bassist's COVID bills because they got hit with COVID and without insurance. So if you want to go check them out, they're on all streaming platforms, and they're super integral into the DIY punk community. So that's kind of the only thing that I know about. So
Can you spell that out so I can type that in right now?
like Matumbo, just like Matumbo.
Wow.
Awesome.
That is, yeah. I mean, talk about like hard things to follow up here. With, I guess it would be something that of equal importance. Something that definitely has a similar effect in the community would be the fact that there's a new sister podcast that's coming out that has been birthed from guest appearances in a mutual group chat. Which is just fascinating for us to just watch happen. So immediately expecting them to be doing a much better job of things, being much more informative. But it's called the Off Court Podcast. It's Eitan from Drum Circle Jerk. He was on talking about the Toronto Raptors, and then also our good buddy Abdul, who is from Kino Lefter, who was also on to talk about the Toronto Raptors. But they're going to be talking about esoteric sports history and then some other things. It's an upcoming project. Y'all should go ahead and just find them. Follow the host. Follow the podcast, Off Court Pod. If my eyes could actually see straight, I'm sure I would be able to do that ad read a little bit faster. God damn. Anyways, yeah, I think that just about does it. Focus on the first two plugs, but if you made it all the way through this, definitely check out Off Court Pod because the diehards really should go follow that as well. All right, say goodbye, y'all.
Bye.